So hello, good morning all, and today we have Savindra ma'am with us to share some tips for your upcoming board examination. And as you know कि कल से आपके बोर्ड एग्जाम स्टार्ट होने वाले हैं और एग्जाम स्टार्ट्स विद इंग्लिश एग्जाम, है ना? तो Savindra ma'am has a vast experience of teaching for the last 30 years. She had worked with Sacred Heart Punjab School for 21 years. Now she is working with BGS International for last 6 years. So, ma'am, we welcome you on our channel so that the students को कुछ tips मिल सकें for examination. So, hand over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me here for discussing some aspects of the board examination. It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
So, ma'am, we welcome you on my channel. Okay, so let's start with the question now. क्योंकि बच्चों के एग्जाम में आने वाले हैं तो और कल ही एग्जाम है तो जल्दी हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. So my first question is कि what are the key topics that a student should cover in upcoming board examination?
In the English exam, sir, it is of 80 marks, as we know, and it is divided into 3 sections. We have 3 sections in the English exam: section A, B, and C. A is consisting of the comprehension passages. Section B has creative writing skills. We do not have any grammar for class 12. And section C covers the 50% of the marks of the paper, that is 40 marks for literature. So this is the division of the paper of English.
Okay, ma'am. So the second question is, what are some common mistakes students make when they answer the question?
One of the most common mistakes I see among students is that they do not read the question paper thoroughly. They are in a very hurry to write the answers. I suggest to my students that read each question at least 3 times so that you can grasp what the examiner is asking in that question. So once you understand the question, then only you can answer it in a proper way. And I would also suggest that the questions that which you find difficult, you attempt them at the end. Do not get confused or do not get blocked by one of the questions and then waste time on that or get anxiety for that. So it's better to answer those difficult questions at the end.
Okay, ma'am. And now the most important question is time management, because English के एग्जाम्स में मैंने बच्चों से आते वक्त सुना है बाहर एग्जामिनेशन में काफी बच्चे बोलते हैं कि यार बहुत लेंथी था, पेपर नहीं हुआ टाइम पे, it was too lengthy. So can you please give some tips on time management so that the student अपना पेपर टाइम पे कर सके?
Time management is the key. If you don't manage time, you won't feel good about the paper. So first of all, you have to see how much time do you have. You have 3 hours plus additional 15 minutes reading time. So we need to utilize that reading time in a very proper way. First of all, we should go through the paper, skim through the paper quickly, and then I suggest that students should use that 15 minutes for the reading section, because comprehension needs time. So unseen passages should be read during those 15 minutes, and students should try to answer all the questions during those 15 minutes only, so that they can quickly do the paper. Another thing is, I suggest they divide the time for 3 sections. Section A and section B, they can take 45 minutes for each section, and section D, literature, they can take 1 hour. So together it makes 2.5 hours. So half an hour we can keep at the end for the revision or attempting some difficult questions which they have not answered earlier, or be comfortable about the paper.
So it's a very good information for time management. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
And what resources or the study material you suggest for the student for their additional practice for this exam?
Yes, for additional material, first of all, I would say NCERT is your Bible.
Yes.
I tell my students to chew and digest the NCERT book so nicely so that they are able to give the exam in a very proper way. Because you see, sir, there are so many sample papers in the market, and every sample paper is different from the other.
Yes.
And having one's own perspective is very, very important. So if the children are studying NCERT book very nicely, they have their own perspective and they don't have to depend on anything. They can use any sample paper, one sample paper at the most. They should not use many head books because they get confused. As I told, every other sample paper is giving some other explanation. Because in literature, you know, the person has their own perspective. So as I was saying, that students need not follow too many sample papers and additional books. One sample paper they can follow, and that too for questions, like what type of questions come in board, or to revise the syllabus. And at the end, before the examination, 1 month before the examination, they can do some CBSE sample papers for practice. But I suggest that children should be thorough with the NCERT book and try to incorporate the lines of NCERT book in their writing time.
Actually, this is true. हम सब भी बोलते हैं अपने बच्चों को कि go through NCERT, treat NCERT as a Bible for your examination. तो NCERT तो important है बच्चों की लाइफ में ना. चलिए ठीक है. So next question is how a student should approach to a question which is unfamiliar to him or her.
Yes, sir. These days many questions are a little tough, or sir, these days we have many case-based questions, and sometimes the questions are very critical in the paper, and naturally for the higher order thinking students we have 1 or 2 questions which are little tough. So in that case the student should not feel any anxiety or stress due to that question. The child can leave that question for the end. First he or she should attempt the paper, and then towards the end when he has a little extra time he should think over the question. And I suggest read the question 3-4 times to grasp the meaning of the question. Sometimes the question looks very tough, but actually it is not very tough. So when we read the question deeply and we try to think what the writer is asking us, and then we can weave that question with the story of the chapter and we can attempt. And I suggest students should not leave any question unattempted. Whatever the question is, they should attempt it in their own words.
Very good. So ma'am, my next question is कि exam की anxiety को दूर करने के लिए to reduce the exam anxiety, what students should do?
Sir, anxiety and stress is very common during examinations. But I think that if the child is well prepared ahead of time, so there is no need of any anxiety or stress. When the child is convinced that he or she has done very good preparation, then there is no need of any anxiety. But I would suggest some things like common things like breathing exercise or meditation or little yoga, little before the examination, 1 month before the examination. If child follows these kind of schedules, that they will help them. Another thing is children should eat homemade food instead of eating the junk food, market food. So food, gives a lot of energy. So if the homemade food is very good for their health, so they should take care of their health, and they should take the small tips along with the studies. So I think there will be no anxiety and there is no need to stress if they are prepared well.
Okay, ma'am. So next question is how students effectively revise their notes before examination.
Effective revision is very important, but at the same time I suggest that just the day before examination child should not revise too much or should not spend too much time in revising each and everything. So ahead of
I think this is a common mistake that every child does.
Yes, sir. And even outside the examination hall, we see children,
yes.
They are reading the books, they are revising the notes. So that anxiety is not good. So I think one evening before the exam, the children should stop studying, and whatever they have studied, that is sufficient, that they should bring in their mind. And they should prepare, I think, chapter-wise notes. Whatever chapters for English, I suggest that for each chapter, make a small short summary with beautiful vocabulary words, because there are marks for expression also. So the children should make a small gist of each and every chapter, and they should make some character sketches of each chapter with good adjectives, good words. So just before the examination, if they revise, they will take only 1 or 1.5 hours to revise these notes. So that way they can revise these notes effectively before the exam.
Okay, ma'am. So to get maximum score, what a student should prioritize in his or her studies?
For getting maximum score, I think detailed in-depth study of anything is very important, especially NCERT. So children think that they will listen to some YouTube videos, or they will just read some sample paper, or they will solve some papers and then they will get marks, but that is a myth. So according to me, a child has to study NCERT books very, very, very thoroughly, and once they have grasped all the knowledge from the book, then they will be able to get score well, and additional afterwards they can solve some sample papers or study additional books. But solid foundation is very important to get maximum score. And another thing, children should not have anxiety, stress, and they should take care of their health. And for maximizing the score, as I said, the foundation should be very, very strong. And during the examination, child should not divert his attention here and there. They should focus on their paper and do the work instead of looking here and there. And they should finish well ahead of time. In 2.5 hours, if the child finishes the paper, then he or she has the time for revising the paper. And thus, I think they can score best in their exam.
Okay. And the last question for you, not for student. So, as an English teacher, what challenges you face during the classroom or the exam time? There must be some challenge for you also. Not all the challenges for students. For you also, there should be some challenges. So,
sir, very interesting question and very good question. As an English teacher, I face a very important challenge that my subject English comes last in the priority list of the students, and they do not study much. Like whenever you tell them to study English, they say, "हो जाएगा, पढ़ लेंगे, देख लेंगे, chapter समझ आ गया." They don't take English seriously. So they don't study English from the very beginning of the year, and they think that just studying 1 week before the examination is sufficient, and they are not serious for this subject. That is the challenge I face, to bring the students to this subject, to make them study, to work hard in this subject. That is a challenge for me.
So I think ma'am आपने काफी अच्छे tips दिए students को to get better marks in this examination or for preparation for the examination. So thank you so much for your valuable tips, and thank you again for coming on my channel. And students के लिए आपने ये सब बताया, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, और I think students को भी ये सब पसंद आएगा, and they get benefit from this video. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and all the best to all the students for their exams.
Thank you.